The Mongols, responsible for wiping out over 10% of the world's population and undefeated in nearly every campaign, launched a massive invasion of Japan with 142,000 warriors. But how did a handful of samurai turn the tide against the greatest armada the world had ever seen? Was it honor, or something far stranger, that saved Japan from the Mongol horde? By 1266, Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, ruled an empire stretching from the plains of Hungary to the shores of Korea. But one island lay just beyond his grasp: Japan. Whispers reached his court of golden temples, untamed warriors, and a culture that would rather die than bow. These stories gnawed at Kublai. Between 1266 and 1273, he sent wave after wave of envoys demanding Japan's surrender and tribute. But the proud Japanese, led by the Kamakura shogunate, rejected these. To the samurai, submission was unthinkable, a stain on Japan's warrior ethos. By 1273, Kublai's patience snapped. His ultimatum: yield or face the horde. On November 2nd, 1274, a storm of war surged from the southern tip of Korea. Under the black banners of the Yuan Empire, a colossal fleet, 900 ships strong, carrying 30,000 Mongol, Chinese, and Korean troops, sailed across the sea to challenge Japan. Japan had never seen such an army. The samurai were masters of single combat, small elite units steeped in honor and precision. But the Mongols? They fought like a tidal wave, tight formations, shield walls, signaling drums, and something terrifying: gunpowder bombs. Weapons the Japanese had never seen or imagined. The first to face the storm was Tsushima Island. Deputy Governor Sosuke Kuni mustered just 80 samurai and their retainers to face the onslaught. Against 30,000. Their arrows flew true, cutting down many attackers. But numbers mattered. Sukekuni and every one of his men died where they stood. The Mongols torched villages and butchered civilians. However, 2 small Japanese boats slipped through the enemy fleet, racing to warn the rest of Japan. The Mongols had arrived. The Mongols spent another 9 days securing Tsushima before heading south to the smaller island of Iki. Taira no Kagetaka, governor of Iki, stood defiant with a mere 100 samurai and local fighters. They fought with ferocity, falling back to their stronghold by nightfall. The next morning, Yuan forces surrounded the fortress. Kagetaka launched a last charge with 36 men. Only 6 survived. Rather than surrender, he committed seppuku, ritual suicide. Then came the real invasion: Hakata Bay, near the regional capital of Dazaifu. On November 19th, the fleet made landfall. They seized the high ground and burned everything in their path. The Japanese defenders fell back to Mizuki Castle, the last barrier before Dazaifu. From its walls, Shoni Kagesuke fired a lethal arrow into the face of a Mongol commander, a giant said to stand over 6.5 feet tall. His death, and that of other officers, shook Mongol morale. Instead of pressing forward, the invaders retreated to the beaches, and then the wind began to howl. By dawn, typhoon winds shattered the Mongol fleet, 13,000 drowned. The Japanese called it kamikaze, divine wind. But the story didn't end there. Kublai Khan was furious. In 1275, he sent new envoys to Japan, demanding surrender once more. This time, the Japanese didn't even respond. They simply beheaded the messengers. Japan knew another invasion was coming, and this time, they would be ready. The Kamakura shogunate ordered the construction of a massive stone defense along Hakata Bay, a 20-kilometer wall 2 meters high, set 50 meters inland. It was called the Genko Borui, a final line to stop the Mongols from ever reaching the mainland again. Samurai were recruited en masse. Training intensified. Japan braced for the storm. Kublai tried diplomacy once more in 1209 and sent yet another envoy. But like their predecessors, they too were executed upon landing on Japanese shores. In the first lunar month of 1281, the Mongol Empire launched an invasion that would become the largest seaborne invasion in history until D-Day. 2 fleets were assembled, one from Korea, 900 ships, and another from southern China, 3,500 ships. A combined force of 142,000 soldiers and sailors. That's roughly the population of a medium-sized European city at that time. The Mongol general Arakan was named supreme commander of the operation and was to travel with the southern route fleet. The eastern route army launched first. In June 1281, they attacked Tsushima and Iki again. On Japanese shores, Shoni Suketoki and Ryusuitoki led just 300 men against thousands. The second Mongol invasion had begun. The Eastern Route Army was ordered to wait at Iki Island for the Southern Fleet, but its commanders, eager for glory, disobeyed orders. On June 23, a full week before the planned rendezvous, they launched a premature invasion of mainland Japan. Their forces split in two. One arm sailed for Hakata Bay, the other toward Nagato province. At Nagato, 300 Mongol ships stormed the coast, but Japanese defenders repelled them, forcing a retreat back to Iki. Meanwhile, at Hakata Bay, the rest of the Eastern Route Army met something the Mongols had never faced before: a stone wall. The Genko Borui stood firm, stretching across the shore. Some Mongol ships came ashore, but could not breach the wall and were driven off by volleys of arrows. Unable to land, the Mongols occupied the nearby islands of Shika and Noko, from which they planned raids against Hakata. But the Japanese struck first. Under the cover of moonlight, samurai crept across the waves in pitch-black boats, silently boarding Mongol ships and slitting throats before vanishing like ghosts. The following day, they launched a daring daylight assault with just 2 small vessels, setting enemy ships ablaze and killing many invaders. Simultaneously, fierce fighting at Iki Island forced a Mongol withdrawal to Hirado Island. After the Southern Route Fleet joined the Eastern Fleet, they captured Taka Island. For 2 weeks, they battled samurai across Hakata, but Japan's guerrilla raids and wall forced a stalemate. Then, the sky darkened. On August 15, a great typhoon struck the fleet at anchor from the west and devastated it. The Japanese again called it kamikaze, a divine wind. Thousands of soldiers were left adrift on debris or washed ashore, only to be killed by Japanese defenders. Exact loss figures remain debated. Korean records estimate 30% casualties, while Chinese sources claim between 60 to 90%. But these invasions were never just about numbers. They were a clash of two worlds: Mongol mobility and explosive firepower versus samurai precision and an unbreakable warrior code. And it leaves us with one haunting question: if not for the divine wind, would Japan have fallen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's greatest turning points, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another epic story from the past.